Typhoon Uong, also known as Fungwong here internationally, is now exiting the Philippines here on our Monday morning. In this update, I want to talk about where it's headed next with this storm system, and could we see another storm after this? Plus, we're going to talk about some of the impacts, but this is a forecasting channel, so let's talk about where this is now and where it's headed next. Now, first off, this is the forecast from JMA, still continuing to exit towards the west as we go ahead through our day here on Monday and even into Tuesday, churning towards north with a likely landfall on Wednesday into southern Taiwan. Right. Wednesday. It's going to be a big rainmaker for Taiwan, but it is significantly weakening by the time it gets off into that direction. It's going to butt up against some shear and the Amihan, which we were hoping would hit this before it made landfall in the Philippines, but now it is, and it at least is going to weaken things out for our friends out here across Taiwan. And even here on the broader picture, you can see what we're talking about as those conditions improve throughout the day on Monday across the Philippines. So just a quick look, but I do want to talk about where this storm system went and who had the lowest pressure officially based on some of the on-the-ground reports. And I have to say it goes to Belair. Taking a look at the pressure readings, they got down to 962 hectopascals there at the airport. That is just south of where that low-level center made landfall. Now, some of the worst of the weather was in Catanduanes, but we don't have an airport out there or even a weather station recording. So if you know anybody that has a good pressure reading, I would like to hear from you. Meanwhile, out here in Diet, the pressure didn't get quite that low, down to about 973 hectopascals. But you know who got lower, kind of interestingly? Baguio. Up there in the mountains, they had this pass right overhead, and I think the pressure at one point got down right there, 969 hectopascals before this exited off just towards the west of San Fernando, and now it is pulling away, which, by the way, just south of San Fernando out here north of Pangasinan, this spot right here got nearly 100 km/h winds in Pangasinan. As I was saying from the start, the winds on the backside of this storm system were going to be rough here along our coastal areas because of that low-level center just kind of wrapping around as it exited off towards the west. Even reports of a storm surge in parts of Pangasinan here right along the coastal areas as that storm pulled away. So it wasn't just an East Coast phenomena. The Sierra Madres didn't magically make it disappear, caused it to weaken a little bit, which a lot of confusion about the Sierra Madres, by the way. It doesn't weaken a storm prior to landfall. It weakens it after it goes over the mountains due to friction, but it doesn't like rebuke it. It doesn't go, stop, storm, stop. I know most of you understand that, but I've been seeing some people saying, thanks. Like Aurora and Catanduanes got hit hard from this. Sierra Madres didn't do anything to slow that down. But now you can see after that landfall, the Dvorak intensity of it is falling off a bit. And here's a look at the track from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center with it pulling off towards the north here. And they also have it coming on shore into Taiwan as a tropical storm, but still going to be a big rainmaker for our friends out there. But definitely, if you ask me who got hit the hardest from this storm system, I would have to say it was here in Catanduanes, in places like this image. Look at that. V-Rock, I got some other videos shared on this page as well of the damage out there. Ralph, who was sending me videos throughout the storm from his house, just ripping, flying debris, and this just absolutely incredible footage. We also seen some pretty significant storm surge footage out of Belair, where this storm came on shore and made landfall in Aurora too. So those are the spots. If you said who got hit the hardest, and Catanduanes technically didn't get a landfall, but that is because that low-level center passed just offshore. You can see here in the line. But I hate that when people get hung up on that. Don't get hung up on that. It still did all the impacts here, right? And still a very rough, serious storm for them. And if it gets retired or even gets suggested for being retired, it would probably be because of the impacts there in Belair, or if we still see flooding in Manila. Got to continue to watch the Marikina River and even the Cagayan River as we go ahead through our morning here, because water levels could start to rise across some of these spots because of all the rain we did see in the mountains. It's going to want to run downstream. I absolutely expect water levels to rise. The question is how much. The good news is that this storm system was moving when it came across, about 20, 30 kilometers per hour forward movement. So that sounds slow if you're like in a car, but in cyclone world, that's like a bullet train. And it was just moving along, just cruising out here. So it didn't linger too long, and hopefully that reduced the amount of just accumulation in certain spots where we could see that flow down. So that's some good news. I've been stressing the rainfall threat throughout this storm, especially for Manila. I knew Manila wasn't going to hit hard, but it was the rainfall threat that I was most worried about for those areas. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. By the way, know your information through those official sources. Prepare to evacuate if you needed. Check and prepare your emergency go kit. If you're in Taiwan, it's a storm heads off into your direction. I always want to stress these kind of three main points in every single one of my updates. Plus, I also want to take a quick second just to say thank you to our Patreon subscribers. I'm going to put your names back on the screen here in my next update. I just been concentrating more on the important information, but you guys are the reason why I'm able to continue to do this and your support of the channel. Patreon, also on YouTube as well, are members there too. So thank you guys so much. All right, let's take a look at where this is headed now. So once again, going off towards the north, you can see approaching Taiwan as we go ahead through Wednesday here, and kind of gets wrapped up with the northeast monsoon just off here towards the north. A lot of people asking about what's behind this storm system. Not much. It's just, no. And I'm sure my next video after I talk about this storm, the real one, we're going to address the phantom storm a little bit more because, gosh, everybody's asking about it. This is the GFS all the way out to the 16th, 17th, 18th. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing there. I say that 15 times for the like 100 people that have direct messaged me asking, is there going to be another storm? We got a little convection rate in here. One model like 5 to 7 days ago showed maybe something after this, but it showed that it would be impacting the Philippines by the 11th and 12th. Where is it? There was nothing ever. This is what we call phantom storms. And if you're new to forecasting and meteorology, just don't fall for these phantom storms. One model shows something. Don't assume multi-models. And yeah, look at the broad load. That's part of the ITCZ right in here. If you see something southeast in the Dow, convection flaring up with the ITCZ. It's nothing. Like, storms can form out of that, but nothing indicates that. And even if we bounce over to like the Google DeepMind, let's pull back and let's see if we got anything. No, it's blank. Why? Because there's nothing there. I guarantee you in the comments, there'll at least be one person who didn't watch this video to this point and go, hey, what about Verdun, whatever the next one's called? What about that one? It's like, chill. Let's get through the storm we have on hand right now. That's important. That's the one that's impacting people, not a phantom storm that is literally not there. Yeah, and shame on everybody that it shares the likelihood of something forming, like shares models in these phantom storms to get the clicks and to get the likes. It drives me insane. Anyways, so storms moving off towards the west, seeing improving conditions behind it, but still want to watch out for those water level rises on the backside of this and how that could cause some river level rise in the next few updates. And I'll be standing by and check out our social medias and everything like that in case these water levels do rise. There still is that flood advisories in place all across the Philippines because of that threat of those water level rises here. And in fact, while I got you here, let's just real quick, I'll pull up what Pagasa is showing in the latest flood warnings. Let's see if they got anything new here. And, you know, their bulletins are interesting because they still have Signal Force 4. And, yeah, here's the latest from Pagasa's, their flood advisory here for the Ogno River Basin as well. They got that in place. Also still looking at flood bulletin across parts of the Beacol region. They do have all these kind of post up about the threat of flooding in some of these spots. So it's not a lack of, I still think this storm surge warning is a little bit late, to be quite frank with you, but you know, whatever, we'll work with it here. And not late, but it's the storm surge threat, unless you're on the immediate west coast, is definitely backing off quite significantly as our storm pulls away off there towards the west. So we're going to keep an eye on this as it pulls away. Number one thing, though, is always, friends, is please stay safe out there. Oops, wrong button. Please stay safe out there. I hope you got through this all right. I know some people didn't. I know that there were people in our live streams who were saying, you know, damage to their homes and everything, and I'm happy you ended up at the channel, but I do hope that you watch these updates ahead of time. And at the very least, you knew this was coming. Goes back to like 2 weeks ago when, guess what? We got 2 strong typhoons in the month of November. Remember when I was showing and I was talking about that? I was talking about the long-range guidance. The MJO was positive. The multi-models were continuing to indicate an area of convection south of Guam, and even east of that was going to show something form up. I was saying it could be a storm and another storm. Ended up happening. I got called fake news at that point. Still drives me nuts to hear that. Anyways, if you guys have any other questions, though, let me know. Yeah, and like I said already, stay safe, okay? All right.